Welcome to Capitalize Your Finances, the podcast that's your ultimate guide to mastering personal finances and unlocking the secrets of entrepreneurship. Each week, we dive into the world of personal finance and business development and have fascinating conversations with industry experts, seasoned entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who share their insights, strategies, and stories to help you get ahead in life. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur looking to scale your business or someone just starting out on your financial path, this podcast is your go-to resource for inspiration and actionable insights.
Welcome back to Capitalize Your Finances. As always, I'm your host, Christopher A. Poniotu, certified financial planning professional, the Cap in Capitalize. And on today's episode, I have a treat for you. I got to interview one of the top fitness enthusiasts and influencers in the world, Marc Lobliner. But before we get into the summary of today's episode, as always, the free tip of the week. Business is going to be hard, no matter what you choose to do. So you have a choice. You can either complain about it, or you can put your head down and figure it out. Now, that's much easier said than done, and I'm very well aware of that. But I can tell you what, anytime you are running a business, or even if you don't run a business and you're an everyday employee, but you're climbing and growing in the ranks, anytime you have that mind choice, not mind shift, mind choice of either falling off the deep end and quitting or slowly progressing and climbing up into the right in continuing that positive trajectory, just know that every time you hit that moment, there are hundreds, thousands, millions of people that are going to give up. So by just taking that extra step, you are that much farther ahead than 99% of your peers or competition if you run a business. And that actually brings me to the topic of today's episode, where I got to interview one of the all-time greats in fitness, Marc Lobliner. I've been a fan of his since back in the day in 2012 when he hopped on YouTube, as he was one of the co-founders of tigerfitness.com, which for those of you that are in the world of fitness, that was one of, if not the go-to all-around fitness websites, whether you were buying supplements, you wanted workouts, you wanted free swag or gear. Marc was one of the first, in my humble opinion, true financial influencers that was the face of a brand. And he was able to take down some of the top fitness businesses in the industry. And he is a multi entrepreneur. He's a pro bodybuilder. He's a family man. And we got to talk about really his journey in business, how he's raised his kids to be entrepreneurially focused. We talked about the supplement industry and how his businesses are being affected by tariffs and trade, because he works globally. And without giving too much away, there's going to be a lot that you're going to learn from Marc, and I think you'll be surprised at some of his answers. So with that, sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing interview with me and Marc Lobliner. I want to set the stage, and then we'll get into the bones of my first question. So back in the day for me, it'll just take a minute. I got into health and fitness high school, and to give you context, that's like 2008-ish, 9-ish. And so at the time,
you were in high school in 2008?
Yeah, I'll be 34 at the end of this month. Yeah, I'm a baby.
I'm so old.
Yeah, I'm a baby. But here's my thing. And at that time, bodybuilding.com was presented to me. And this ties into you, Marc, because bodybuilding.com, they had something going, and they were one of the first to the scene and all that. But then in 2012-ish, I'm now in college, getting into bodybuilding, powerlifting. My Crohn's was in complete remission because of it. And then you popped on my feed. And what was interesting with you was, in my opinion, you were one of the first people with your company, tigerfitness.com, that had a face to the brand. Yes, you were loud, you were all over the place. And admittedly, a lot of my friends are like, who the hell is this guy? But for me, I'm like, there's something about what Marc is doing that is strategically and positively calculated. So you fast forward to today. I would argue bodybuilding.com is damn near existent. I mean, it is a shell of what it is.
They're a dropship program. They don't even have a warehouse.
Yeah.
They just basically list brands because they have a big mailing list. And no, I mean, credit to them for maneuvering.
For sure.
And, figuring out what to do. They had a couple missteps. When Ryan DeLuca left the company, that was huge. Ryan DeLuca was the brains and the vision. So a lot of times you lose your visionary, you lose your brand. And once he left, they made this error of trying to go up against Amazon. And our idea was to be alongside Amazon and take a different position. Whereas bodybuilding.com put over a million orders served, we came out with the tagline, "You're more than just a number here." So I think, their idea was we're the Amazon of supplements. I'm like, no, Amazon is the Amazon of supplements. And where we can have a unique differentiating proposition to customers is to have better customer service and what I like to call personalized customer service.
Sure. So was that your original business strategy all along of going up against bodybuilding.com, or did it evolve over time as bodybuilding.com kind of self-sabotage themselves?
So so when you look at a competitor who's as large, they got up to, I think, 500 million in their heyday. They were a monster. And when you have someone that large, you have strategic differences. Number one, you could pivot faster. So we can literally see a market trend and latch onto it and get it done in 2 to 4 weeks. It would take them 2 to 4 months to a year. And another thing you can do is, if you're small, you can always out-personalize someone. So you can always answer emails personally. You can always take phone calls. You can always do small events and gatherings. And that is the way to flank a large company, is to out-personalize, service them. And also, one thing they lacked is a brand that people trusted. Now, they did have their bodybuilding.com brand, but no one trusts bodybuilding.com for supplements. They trust them as a retailer. So what we did is we created what, you should do, which is, you got Costco and Kirkland. You got Sam's Club and Members Mark. You got Walmart and Equate, where you don't call it the store name. You come out with an autonomous brand. And that's what we did. And we were able to achieve great success with that.
Interesting. Yeah, because now I think about it, and I don't think people understand how long you have been in the fitness world and performing as a businessman in the fitness world at the level that you have been. And I want to get into that a little bit later on, but fast forward to today, you wear a number of hats. Even before the recording, it's like, dude, I just don't sleep. That is not even an option. I'm
on 2 hours right now.
Oh my God, you're hurting, right? So Chief Mark, I look, if I'm on 2 hours of sleep, like, I am not nearly as kind and warm and welcoming as you. Let me just put it to you that way.
Did you not see the new study on creatine? So if you take a bolus dose of 25 to 30 grams of creatine, it actually negates the effects of sleep deprivation.
Oh.
So let's just say that first thing when I woke up, I had me some 25 grams of creatine, about 15 grams of BHBs. I'm good to go.
Yeah, you are good to go. And I'm actually curious on that really quick. Do you know how that would have, so I was diagnosed with Crohn's at 4. I've been in complete remission for now. So my birthday is next Saturday. So that'll be my 13th year of complete remission.
Wow, good.
So yeah, thank you. But do you know how that actually would affect like Crohn's or IBS?
So to my knowledge, and I'm not a doctor, I have to say that because I don't want to get sued. To my knowledge, there shouldn't be any gastric events from creatine, or up to a point. Like, take 200 grams of anything that you're supposed to take 5 to 20 grams of. It's probably going to be an issue. But to my knowledge, based on the data I've read, that should not cause gastrointestinal distress. Therefore, I don't think it would be a trigger for Crohn's, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious. Well, so I actually want to get into, because your schedule is insane. I mean, we were texting back and forth, and it's like, dude, I'm flying here, flying there, not sleeping. So like, what does an average day and week look like for you?
So when I'm at home, it's pretty simple. I get to the gym at around 5:15 a.m. I'm in my office by 7 a.m. I'm on calls till whenever they get done. And then I'm usually in the office till about 8 p.m. Or until my wife starts yelling at me to get out of the office. That's usually how that works. I'll take time, like if my kids have a sports event or something. So I do make time for my kids, but I'm a man, and my duty is to provide and protect. And that's what I do. That's my role. That's what I do.
Yeah.
When I travel, I try to keep a similar schedule. I'm usually no matter when I land, I'm usually at the gym by 5:30, wherever I'm at. Like this week I was in New Jersey. So I found a gym, Powerhouse, 15 minutes away. I was there at 5:30, got my day pass, back to hotel, off to my meeting. After the meeting, I go right back to the hotel and I work. And I normally don't do anything fun. And I make that on purpose. When I used to travel to Australia, I never really saw Australia. Be like, oh, did you go to the Opera House? I'm like, no, I was working. Like, so when I'm done, or when I slow down in my 60s or whatever, I would like to go travel with my wife, but I always figured it's really messed up. Like my wife's over here and she helps run the businesses, and she has our youth performance facility, Legacy at Carbon in Franklin, Tennessee. So she's managing that, and she has kids and all this. And I'm like, what kind of move is it for me to say I'm on a business trip? My wife's over there busting her ass, trying to make up for the fact that I'm not there. She's a single mother at the time. And I'm out there just gallivanting around, drinking and having fun. No, I'm there to do it. It's a business trip. And my nephew, Jaden, he plays at University of San Diego baseball. And he was at Kansas State and he transferred. On his apartment door at Kansas State, it simply said business trip. He looked at college. He's not partying. He's there to do one thing. That's get drafted. That's get drafted and get it done. So I actually learned that from my nephew. I think he just turned 21, but I learned that word. I just looked at it like I'm there to work, but I'm like, you know what? That's right. It's a business trip. It's all business. It's not a personal trip. It's not a party trip. It's not a relaxation trip. If I go on vacation, I'll relax. But when I'm on a business trip, I'm working 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I totally hear. It's interesting. So I have a unique viewpoint, and this is not going to turn into about me, but I've been excited to chat with you about this.
It's your show, bro.
Specific, I get it, man. But it's always about you. My thing is, I just had this conversation about vacation and the whole concept. And one thing I actually am working through right now is I struggle with going on vacation. Like, it actually stresses me out. Now, granted, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. We have another one on the way in October. We don't know what we're having yet.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so
you can't, you got to let the child choose the gender, bro.
Yeah.
Yes. You can't be misgendering them at an early age.
Well, of course, that is one thing I will yes, that is one thing I will say, though. You will be on my list of when we find out on June 3rd, I'll text you what we're having. I think we're having a boy.
June 3rd is my wife's birthday.
It was meant to be. So I
think so.
The reason why I bring this up, though, is, very similar to you. I know you love what you do. Not every day.
Love it.
Okay? I get it. I love what I do. Love what I do. I love my family. I love being home. I love, my days in my work is a vacation. So for me, when I go on a vacation, a family vacation, it almost feels like when people say, I'm getting in the car and I'm going to work. That feeling that just not, and it's been a struggle, and it just clicked to me growing up because I was fortunate to travel. I was fortunate to be able to afford to go to these places, but also with my Crohn's. When you're traveling, you're in an uncharted territory. You don't know what you're eating. You don't know what you're drinking. That can be really bad. So for me, I've worked so hard to get to this euphoria of life of providing for my family, being the man, being at home simplistically with my wife and my daughter on the backyard. That is heaven to me. And I think it's interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs, they have different flavors of what vacation looks like or feels like. I've yet to see an entrepreneur, a true dedicated entrepreneur that's like, oh man, I can't wait to get out of town and go on a trip. Because your life is a vacation. Does that make sense? Is that weird?
Vacations suck, dude. Because I have to wake up before everybody, get work done.
Yeah.
Check in midday, and then let's say we go, we hike the Northeast. We're going to Costa Rica this year.
Oh, cool.
And so we hike the Northeast, and it's tiring. Like we're climbing Acadia and all that. And, we go back to hotel, everybody's napping. I'm in the hotel lobby taking a, meeting, having a board meeting. So for me, vacations are very stressful because something bad always happens that I have to handle. And it's just, and then my wife yells at me because I'm working, and then everybody's yelling at me because they need something from me. So for me, I'd rather just, I always like talk people. I'll talk my family out of vacations. And when we live in the most beautiful area in the world. We live in Brentwood, Tennessee. It is heaven.
It is heaven.
So, I mean, Brentwood, I was joking around with I coached my son's football team last year, and one of the other coaches is like, where are you going for spring break? I'm like, bro, we live in Brentwood. Brentwood is a vacation. Like, this is like the dream. So, I mean, I've built my life where, it's going to be cool seeing places. I love that. Hiking Northeast was amazing. Like so challenging. And once you get to the top, you see the views and you're like, oh, this is because you get a reward. The reward of the hike is going to the top and looking down and be like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I mean, I go across the street from my house. There's a beautiful hiking trail. And then there's a non-hiking trail that goes through lakes and streams. Like I'm literally living the dream. Like, that's why I don't like people like, oh, you're triggered if I say something. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm never mad. Oh, I made you mad. No, trust me. I don't get mad. Like, I don't get angry at all at anything. It just nothing affects me. I'm like, because I came from nothing. So having what I have that, my wife and I say this, put every brick on this damn house. I'm just blessed to be here, and people around here came from here. So they don't understand how fortunate they are to be where they're at.
Yeah. Amen, man. I totally get that. And two, I think you and I can both agree that, yes, we've worked extremely hard. I think we are incredibly blessed that we found what we love, because a lot of people never do. And that I actually feel really bad for people that never find that. You mentioned something of, eventually, when you retire, whatever the case is. And I personally don't see you ever retiring, because
I'm not going to, no, you die.
Yeah.
I mean, when people retire, their Alzheimer's and dementia rate goes up exponentially.
Oh, for sure.
So the human condition is to suffer, and people don't understand that. Your body thrives on stress. Look at Donald Trump, right? Like, love him or hate him, I've never seen anybody his age act the way he does. And I've been around a lot of old folks.
Yeah.
Like, you see a guy in his late 70s, they're usually decrepit. But Trump is always moving. He's always doing stuff.
Yes.
And you look at Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. That guy's crushing life. One of my business partners is 60 years old. And he's just just full of energy, just crushing every day. And the one thing I noticed is that the higher level the person, the healthier they are. Even if they're a little bit fat. Does that make sense? Like, their mind is
yeah.
Now, like my 60-year-old partner, like he's in great shape, arm veins, everything in great shape. But I mean, what is the differentiator? Yeah, he exercises. A lot of people exercise. But the thing is, he's constantly dealing with high stress situations every day. And if you think about how the human body evolved, like, every day you don't know if you're going to get attacked by a tribe or attacked by a woolly mammoth and eaten. Like, every day you're just happy to make it through the day. But now we don't even get out of our car to get our Starbucks. So the human body is not meant for that. And that's why we're all fat. That's why we're all sick, because we just don't have the human body needs stress. And as soon as I get rid of that stress, then I stop being. Then there's just no point.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. Well, there's so many different ways I could take that. And look, I'm not as old as a lot of people I get to interview and all of that, so I don't have as much experience on earth. But in many ways, I feel a lot older.
You're just rubbing in that old thing today.
Yeah. I shouldn't say old. I should say vintage. That's why I say.
I love, dude, I feel better now than I did in my 20s, in my 30s. If I knew then what I know now, how to take care of myself, the different things I do, the different life hygiene I have, man, I would have felt even better now. But, it's never too late to fix things. Now, I've always been a health nut. I've always been a hypochondriac as far as, like, taking certain supplements and not taking risks. I've never been a drinker, never tried recreational drugs. I did have a THC gummy a couple times. I don't understand that. It made me tired. I was like, why do people use this unless you have like cancer?
Sure.
I understand there's applications for it, but I couldn't imagine just being tired and stoned all day. No. So, I mean, for me, my mom was a drug addict, alcoholic. So my dad had type 2 diabetes. So I've seen the other side, and I'll see the other dads. And while I'm out there with my kids and I still act like I'm 12 years old, it's just, I can dial it in for business, but when I'm with my kids, we're just doing our thing, and I can relate, and I can do the things they do. I can do the movements they do. I can go on hikes with them. I can go on bike rides with them. And a lot of people, they let themselves go. Yeah.
It's sad. Well, what do you see for yourself for the next 10 years, professionally speaking?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, you make most of your money, and this, you're a finance guy between the age of 40 and 60. You also coincidentally age the most between 44 and 60. Those are two data-backed statistics. I just see more progress. It's hard I'm not going to set any like static goals, right? I like having those, like, I'm going to build this company 100 million. I have those goals in mind. Like, I've taken companies in the 20s and the 30s. I've never built $100 million brand. I don't know if I want to, I'm a guy who I love creating. I love inventing. I've created over 1,000 products in my life. I've created 2 categories, the intra-workout category and the shelf-stable whole food protein bar category. I work every day with companies, and I help them with things. I'm managing a company that sells BHBs, which are exogenous ketones, which is the most fascinating ingredient ever invented. I mean, it's got health implications, energy implications. You can use it in an energy drink, get energy drink from it. It's called Go BHB. And, for me, it's what can I do? And every day is an opportunity. Like, I just got off a phone call with a guy who's like, hey, I have an idea for a brand. And I'm like, oh, so let's talk. So how can I better myself every day? And I always used to have this thing, I'm like, dude, with my kids, I'm like, in your training every day, whether you're strength training, whether you're wrestling on the mat, whether you're sprinting for football, can you become 1% better every single day? Every single day, 1% better. Not 1%, but 1% of what you were that. So let's say you're at 100, you become 100.1. Then the next day you become 100.1 is time multipled, right?
Yep.
1% better, 100.11, 100.1, whatever. And you go on and you improve every day. And if you do that throughout your life, you're in a good spot. And also as you age, you're doing that in the gym. So you're preventing sarcopenia, you're preventing health issues. You do that in cardio, so you're preventing heart issues, you're preventing health issues. You do that in the job. Like, if you get 1% better every day at business, you're going to be a friggin' god by the time you're 50.
Yeah. Oh, and I can make an argument earlier, especially because your kids have been learning from the base that you've blessed them with, which I think is awesome. It's interesting. There's a book, and I've plugged it a lot on my show. My followers know it. I got to just repeat it though. You need to read The Joys of Compounding by my friend Gautam Bade. And I'm not nearly as elegant as him. But he talks about the 4 pillars of wealth. And the first pillar is you're just starting out. I don't care who you are, unless you're a trust fund baby, like you're just figuring it out. Then the second pillar is paycheck to paycheck, which is not a bad thing, because that means you're no longer going backwards. The third pillar is what we'd call like the traditional retirement pillar. But then you've got the 4th pillar that I think a lot of people dream of, but they don't want to put in the work to do it. But it is achievable. And that's where your money is working for you, your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids. You could quad your spending, and it's not going to affect you at all. At that moment, what happens, and this hit me so hard when he wrote this, you get to see the world for what it really is. Mm-hmm. And very similar to what you just said in business and in health with your family, same thing with me and my girls and whatever we have in a couple months. I want them to compound as efficiently and swiftly as possible, so then they can see the world for what it really is. I wanted to ask you economically. So the T word this year, tariffs, have been all over the news. And if I had a penny for every time someone mentioned that, I would be loaded. But I was curious for you in the supplement industry, how has that affected tigerfitness.com, or really any of your businesses that you oversee?
So lucky for me, the main issue isn't even China. It's whey protein. Whey protein, I mean, it went from like $3 to $8. Like it's the whey protein, but that's not a China issue. That's a supply and demand issue. And that'll correct itself. The problem is it's a whole thing about they're not making enough cheese. So basically whey is a byproduct of milk. So if you look at what milk is, it's 80% caseinate, 20% whey. So when they break down the milk, they take the caseinate for cheese, and then they put the whey protein aside. They used to throw it away or put it in pig feed. But then we found out, holy crap, this stuff is awesome. It has immune benefits. It's the most biologically available protein. So think about it. America and the world doesn't eat enough cheese to keep up with the whey protein consumption. They're putting it in Gatorades. They're putting it in Powerades. So until they can ramp up the cows and the milk and the cheese, there's going to be an issue. So I don't see how that's going to right itself. But again, I'm not a farmer, so that would be the main issue, but that has nothing to do with tariffs. So the thing about tariffs is it's not an encompassing tariff. I don't think people understand that. So for example, beta hydroxybutyrate or BHB, there's no tariff on it. So that's not affecting that, even if it's coming out of China or other countries. So they're different categories that they're tariffing. So if you're getting goods that, are tariffed, yeah, that's going to be bad. But for us, for example, the protein bars, those are made from American ingredients, sourced from America, made in Ohio. So we're pretty much tariff proof on that. Now there could be some trickle down where another sector affects that sector. That happens. But for me, here's what I look at. I'm country first. And if you're talking about books, have you ever read Art of the Deal by Trump?
Yes, I have actually. Yeah.
So none of this stuff he's doing, he actually intends to do. Here's Trump. Okay, let's put this in financial terms. You go for a house, it's for sale for $1 million. Trump will be like, I'll give you 70 grand. And they'll be like, what? He's like, no, I'm staying at 70. Like, no, 900. He's like, I'm staying at 70. No, 800. No, I'm staying, let's go 80. Okay, so it's the art of the deal. Everything he's done. The 90-day pause on tariffs was just like, he's like, I will really do this. I'm going to do this. Watch. This is what he's going to do. He's done it. He did it the last 4 years. He asks for something absurd. And 125% tariff is absurd. But anybody who actually thought Trump is intending on having 125% tariff haven't read his book. He's been doing this throughout his career. So what's going to happen is the left is going to scream, the libertarians are going to scream, everybody's going to scream, and he's just sitting there just making a deal. And he's good at drowning out the noise. But at the end of the day, we have unfair tariffs. I can't do business in Canada because by the time it gets there, a product that I make for $10 costs $80. And I'm not joking. I had to pull all my products out of Canada. Canada has been bending us over for over a decade, and no one has done anything about it. Finally, Trump's like, fine. Then he says something absurd. You know what he said? We're going to make you our 51st state. Did anybody really believe that Trump's going to annex Canada? Like, dude, this ain't James K. Polk in 1862 where he just took Mexico because. Like, James K. Polk was just like, I'm going to go get Mexico. Oh, okay. And then Texas is like, what about us? Like, okay, we're cool. Tennessee's like, we have nothing to do with this, but we're going to go fight it anyway. Hence, we're the volunteer state. So if you put things in those terms, like, dude, I like what Trump's doing because I have been on the end of a bend over fest with Canada for the last decade. And maybe, just maybe, if Canada agrees to acceptable terms and they bring down their tariffs, companies like me will be, and I was doing millions a year in Canada, bro. Millions of dollars I had to give, the government killed for me.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, let Trump cook. Let him cook. Let him cook.
You mentioned Canada. Do you see that shifting or have you seen that shift, or is it too early to tell in your mind?
Oh, it's too early to tell. They're still Trump's still being Trump. Like, oh no, well, we're gonna do this. He's not doing anything. but they think he will because he's kind of crazy. So, but I mean, Trump will ask again, like it's all in his book. His book lays it out. And that's why I keep telling people, I said this on multiple podcasts, my podcast. I'm like, guys, he's not doing this. And sure enough, he's not doing it. Stock market crashed. Trump crashed the economy. Stock market's basically where it was, give or take 1,000 points, right? Tesla stock. Tesla? Don't you wish you bought on the dip? I mean, so I'm not telling people to buy on the dip. Just want to say that. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I'm saying metaphorically, it was down a lot. So my son was like, I'm going to buy stocks. I'm like, no, you're not. So if you got an account and put $1 into Tesla, it's up to like $4. I'm like, I should have put $1,000.
Sure. Oh yeah. Well, and it's funny.
My son, my 17-year-old wrestler.
In that story,
complete meathead.
It's interesting you bring that up because we've seen just through the grapevine of people DMing, like fractional ownership in companies is a really scary thing because you don't understand the value of a business. You're at that point, and to a certain extent, public markets have always been kind of a gamble because, like Charlie Munger said way back in the day, the greatest gift and the greatest curse about the public markets is you're swimming with idiots. That's not my quote. That's Charlie Munger's quote. But
you could just take that quote. It's not untrue.
Well, I mean, he's gone now, so someone could carry the torch. But
yeah, just steal it.
But you exemplify that, you magnify that and blow that up with fractional ownerships in these businesses that, and again, it's not even going to be Tesla. It could be any other company that is the hot to trot company, for better or worse. In these people have no idea what they're doing, and the worst part is they've been getting away with it because really this isn't even political. Ever since 2009, it's been pretty easy as a whole to do really well in the market, even if you don't know what you're doing. So then the compounding of lack of knowledge, it's completely masked by this shadowed success. It's really, really scary, my opinion. Okay. I wanted actually to ask you something about supplement because I was always fascinated with the supplement industry and health and fitness, but really for me, it was because I wanted health. I didn't have it growing up. I grew up in a well-off family, but you cannot buy your way into being healthy. That's why like my favorite lift is the deadlift because it's the only lift that you can't get a spotter. Really.
There's no rubber band effect either. You're lifting out like squat.
Yeah.
Got the rubber band effect at the bottom.
Yeah.
Deadlift, it's you versus gravity.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. It's unless you're a sumo lifter, but we're not going to talk about them.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, we're not. I'm not going to get in that debate. I don't need that debate. I'm happy. I'm just happy you're lifting. Okay.
Yes.
Like I'm not one of those to bash a training style. I'm like, are you moving? Okay, good. You're better than 99% of the population.
Yes, for sure.
Deadlift is the true test. And I want to go back to what you said. Actually, his name's Roper Fields. He's a great guy. He's my wealth advisor, I think they're called. And he called my wife when the stock market was doing its thing. He's like, I'm going to send you something. And if you want, you can sign it. But we want to be a little more aggressive on this thing.
Sure.
And I'm like, my wife's like, what should we do? I'm like, well, he's the guy. Like, I don't know. He seems pretty smart. It was a great decision.
Sure.
You know, he's like, yeah, we're just going to go a little more aggressive and then we'll scale it back when it bounces. We're like, okay. And sure enough, like, you know, it actually ended up being favorable for my portfolio. What happened because and again, I've never bought just a transient stock. I've never bought a single stock. I'm a Dave Ramsey guy. He's a Franklin, Tennessee guy. He's right down the road from me. I'm a Ramsey guy. Some of it, I still like my credit card points.
Yeah.
Because I pay it off every month.
Yeah.
But realize, Dave, you talk about swimming with idiots. Dave's dealing with people who don't have the self-control to use a credit card and not go into debt. Me, I've never, even when I was poor, I didn't carry a credit card balance. Never carried one in my life. So for me, I'm getting thousands of dollars cash back just for existing, you know, just for spending. And I do the same with my business. I use the business card. When it hits its limit, I pay it off and I get all those points and I get an extra few days on my nets.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's for the right people that have the behavioral tolerance to use a credit card. It is immensely valuable. Well,
oh my God, I'm getting thousands back a year.
Yeah.
Thousands of dollars.
Easily. So what?
And vacations and Home Depot cards. It's crazy.
It's insane. What would you say have been the biggest changes in the supplement industry since like you were starting to make content back in the 2010s?
It's gotten better. The FDA got more involved. They're auditing facilities. I think supplements are the best they've ever been. I think the industry is the best it's ever been. Ingredients have gotten better. You know, I think that we have great science. I was just talking about Go BHB. BHB is going to be bigger than creatine because it does all these things for ATP, for mitochondria. It energizes you for your workout. It creates, because it's dual energy. Think about it. Your body, it's exogenous ketones. So if you have glucose, let's say you're not on a keto diet. Everybody on a keto diet's like, man, I was just thinking so clear. I had all this mental energy. So imagine if you took that energy source. Now, when you're in ketosis, it still helps, gives you extra ketones, but you're producing ketones. Imagine if you're not producing ketones and you add them in, you got anti-inflammation benefits. It energizes you, better cognition. There's a study out of Japan that just came out. It helps you, it improves all markers of sleep. My life has changed. Since I started taking 10 to 20 grams of BHB a day, my life has dramatically changed. I'm talking, it's noticeable. My inflammation is down. I'm getting stronger without sleep. It's insane. And also with creatine, they both enhance ATP. So think about what I just said about this morning. You know, I'm on 2 hours of sleep, bolus dose of creatine, bolus dose of BHB. And you couldn't even tell that I literally was at the airport a couple hours ago without any sleep. So I think we've come a long way in licensed patented ingredients. There's very good companies that have done a great job. Obviously, Ketone Labs has, obviously, you know, you got NNB out there. You have some great companies that are putting a lot of money into research to really come out with some killer ingredients that are so novel. And they have the studies. So these companies are spending millions of dollars on studies. Now, we used to lack studies in the industry. You know, I just signed off on a couple $100,000 in studies the other day. It is, as someone who wants science, who has always prided himself on science-based and transparent supplements and Scivation and listing out, how that brand grew is not only did we make Branch taste good, but we also posted lab tests. And no one at the time did that. So to see all these studies, all this stuff going on, it's just like, holy cow, this is amazing. Like, there are still fringe players. There's still bad people. But dude, in your industry, it's probably worse. You're like, oh, this is the worst industry. I'm like, my wife worked in print, right? When we got out of college, and she was in, basically she was a marketing director for a print company. That thing was dirty, like government contracts, overpaying, kickbacks. Oh, it was disgusting. Everybody, cocaine, prostitutes. Those are the good parts of it. Yeah. But they didn't hear our whole discussion on cocaine.
Yeah. No, they did not.
Little Wolf of Wall Street action.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So first off, shout out to Scivation. So Extend back in the day.
Not anymore. That's not mine.
You know, I know. But back in the day.
Yeah. Shout out to my brands.
Yeah. Back,
I already exited.
Because it was interesting. Way back, that was one of the only amino acids that I could take that wouldn't negatively affect my stomach. I'll tell you a quick story too, because I agree. The supplement world has gotten loads better because yes, the FDA has gotten involved, but you're also seeing people put their money where their mouth is. I think when I first discovered you, it was this world in health and fitness where the marketing was really taking off, but I don't know if the quality goodwill of the industry was catching on. So, you've got like, and I succumbed to this. I was just getting into fitness. I'm like 18. I'm running and lifting for like 3 hours a day and don't know what the hell I'm doing. And then you've got like Ronnie Coleman, who's like, I take this protein and I'll get this bit. And as someone as naive as an 18-year-old just getting into fitness, you're like, oh yeah, I'll just pound.
I'm going to look just like Ronnie.
Yeah. And obviously that's not the case. And then the marketing was great. Like Dymatize was a supplement I used. And I remember their pre-workout, like it was so bad. Like I remember the first time I took it, I'm like, oh, I think I've got to go to the bathroom. Oh, I think I really have to go to the bathroom. Freaking 45 minutes later, that's the workout. And I just went home and I slept because I was like, I'm not going there.
They probably overdid the magnesium. So that's what remember Gaspari's Super Pump? They
yes.
Super Dump.
Yeah.
So, milk of magnesia, right? Too much magnesium. Magnesium's great.
Right.
But if you take a bolus dose of the right form of it, you're pooping. Like so Super Pump was good. And I'm not going to lie. I knew people who took it for constipation and it worked.
I believe it.
They'd literally be like, when you go to the gym. So I always like, and again, I don't know what kind of podcast this is, but before the gym, I just lift better when I have my pre-workout movement. If you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The pre-workout dump is very important. Those of you who lift, know you can't lift right when you have a poop in there.
Yeah.
So if you wake up in the morning and you train in the morning and you can't get it going, man, you drop that pre-workout. As soon as you get to the gym, man, you're getting a warm-up. Yeah. Like you better bring some moist wipes or a portable bidet because it's gonna be a good one if you took some Super Pump. But I want to bring it back, like we were talking about the studies. If you recall, there was a big debate on if branched chain amino acids work. So in 2008, I'm like, I'm gonna fund a study. Studies are very expensive, and our company wasn't a huge company, and at the time, we were getting there. But we were like, I'm going to fund a study. So I funded a study. Not only did I fund a study, I got two groups involved, the College of Charleston and the Weider Research Institute. So they did a collaborative study and they found amazing results with intra-workout branched amino acids. And to this day, even after being published and showing all the methodology, people still say I was scamming people. I literally spent 6+ figures to prove that this thing worked, and I'm still called a scammer. You're damned if you do that. I get called a snake oil salesman every day, and I'm like, I literally sell protein bars. Like I don't know. Like, what am I scamming? Delicious protein bars? Like, there's no snake oil. I've never made claims beyond what the structure function claim of the product is. I've always played by the rules, but I don't blame people because they've been lied to all these years. I would look at me sideways too. So it's really hard to validate, even if you fund studies. Oh, well, you funded the study? I'm like, were you going to fund it for me?
Yeah.
Is the government going to fund it for why would the government fund a study on healthy young athletes and hypertrophy?
Right.
They're funding other things like cancer and AIDS.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get that. Well, it's interesting you bring that up, and you brought it up earlier saying like, well, it may not have been the right word, but like corruption or like shadiness, you could argue is worse than the finance industry. I could actually make the argument it's the other way. Like I could see fitness being just as, and the reason for that is like, so when I was competing back in the day, I quickly realized how people were doing bodybuilding wrong. It was their entire life. Like, oh, I can't go out with my kids because I need to stay home and eat a meal type of deal. And you're not even getting ready for a show. Like, it's just, you're striving for something that is not there. And I truly believe when you get to the end of your life, that's going to be one of the regrets on these people's deathbeds. But then you compound that with, and you've never been this way. Let me make it crystal clear, which one of the things I love about you. But you've got a lot of people in the industry, and this is where I wanted to transition a little bit to financial influencing and how that's affected the business. You've got people that are just genetic freaks, okay? There are certain people that are just going to look better than others.
The black guys, right?
Dude, I'll tell you what. I will tell you what. So I'm going to give a shout out.
I said it.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout. My nutritionist. Have you read The Sports Gene, by the way?
I have.
Phenomenal book. Phenomenal book.
Jose Antonio wrote a book in the 90s about the differences in cultures. West Africans are really great athletes. Eastern Europeans are really strong.
Yeah.
And his name's Jose Antonio. Again, not white. And he was literally like the first man to ever get canceled. We joke about it. I talk to him every day. He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he got canceled for it before canceling was a thing. But it's true. There are genetic differences. There are hyper responders. And that's why these guys, there's no way this guy's natural. I'm like, you've never been to prison.
Yeah. But
you've never seen prison.
Capitalizers, this episode is sponsored by the best-selling book, Capitalize Your Finances, the how-to framework that takes you from compoundingly clueless to monetarily magnificent. Regardless of where you're at in your financial life, whether you're just beginning to express interest and commitment to your personal finances, at the pinnacle of your career, winding down into retirement, or thinking about your legacy for future generations, this book walks you through every step of the way so you can succeed on your terms and with your own values and passions guiding you. After reading this book, you will officially have Christopher A. Panayotu, the Cap in Capitalize, in your back pocket, guiding you in detail through every step of the way so that you can take charge of your finances, not the other way around. Head on over to Amazon.com today and start capitalizing your finances to the fullest with this incredible book, Capitalize Your Finances, the how-to financial framework that takes you from compoundingly clueless to monetarily magnificent. And now, back to the episode.
But here's like my point on that is like, so back in the 2010s, in my mind, you were one of the first financial influencers that I discovered. Okay, I'm sure there were people before you and all that, but like when I started tuning in, what would you say has changed the most about fitness influencing over the last decade plus?
Well, Instagram and TikTok. I mean, the mediums and the production value and, you know, the age of the super influencer and the monetization of it would be the main thing. I mean, influencers are making a lot of money. They're really good at what they do, and it's a full-time job, and they actually put work in.
Yeah.
You know, it does take work to choreograph and produce and put these things together. And that's why my social media is kind of stale, because I ain't got time for that. Like my video, I literally film it, upload it. There's no editing. That's it. And I get them done I usually do them on Sundays. I'll do like 4 videos for the week, and I still do that. I want to continue doing that, but you know, it's just, it's what they do. So I think the age of the full-time influencer has really changed the game. And, you know, but going back, like talking about bodybuilding and compared to the finance industry, very few people compete. My market is maybe 1% competitors. You know, there's only so many shows, so many competitors. You know, most people just want to look a little better and feel a lot better. And that's where I think fitness is. So my market, if you were saying my market, competitors are so far down the list. They're near the bottom. Yeah. Like they're near the bottom. So just being real, even if they take supplements, it's just not a large group of people. Can't scale that.
Yeah. No, that's an amazing point. I never even thought of that. Well, and I wanted to ask you, I've been really excited to ask you this. How has your philosophy, of finances changed as you've gotten older and as you became a parent?
Man, I've always been cheap, man. I'm Jewish. Just kidding. I had to throw a Jewish joke in.
We all needed that. Yeah. But I'm serious. I've been curious.
I've always been very fiscally conservative. You know, when you grow up not having much, actually my dad had a decent job, and we lost everything because my mom was a drug addict. So ended up foreclosing on a house, you know, all that stuff. So I've always been afraid to lose everything. So you're not going to catch me gambling. You know, you're not catch me doing any of that. I'm very now my idea of wealth is different than everybody else's.
How?
My idea of wealth is being able to go to the grocery store and not have a budget. And if I don't have to look and say, can I afford milk this week? Can I afford to get this? You know, my idea of rich isn't owning a boat or a yacht. As long as I can provide for my family, you know, afford to give my kids what they need. I'm very need-based, not want-based. I don't have hobbies. I don't really, other than hiking, which is free. You know, I go to the gym and that's it. So I've never been a want-based person. So my wife and I have always been very fiscally conservative. You know, we've never been like, I want a sports car, so I'm going to buy it. No. Could I afford a nice sports car? Yeah. Do I have one? No. Why? So I could drive over the speed limit and get a ticket? No. I'm going to drive. I just, I was really happy this week because transmission on my Yukon blew out. It was still under warranty. It had 1,000 miles left. So I figure it's got 106,000 miles. I think I could squeak another 80 grand out of it. And then I'm good. I'm going to drive that thing till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
And that's just how we are. Like we buy, like my son turned 16, needed a car, found a nice used car and bought it in cash. I think we've always been within our means. Like even when I started Scivation, I would have never started it if my wife wasn't making enough to provide for us. So, and she did. And that's why it's like, well, I mean, yeah, okay, right now I'm making the money, but I wouldn't be here if she didn't sacrifice when she had to sacrifice. And also she could have kept her career, but she wanted to stay home and raise the kids. Because again, she has extremely conservative values. And I still believe that's the best way to raise a family. Not saying all women should be in the kitchen. She would have had a crazy good career. But she decided that raising a family was more important. And that was our personal decision. I'm not throwing shade at working mothers out there. Not at all.
Oh, of course.
I'm just saying that for our family, which sucked for me, because here I am with a new business. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to raise the kids. I'm like, because we just had Cammie. It's 2006. And I was like, no, don't do that. That's terrible. What if I fail? So I had to make it. I had to figure it out. So yeah, it was a fight or flight situation. So I mean, we've always been the way we are. We've never been gamblers. We just, our best investment is ourselves. Mm-hmm. So our money goes into our businesses because unlike playing the stock market, I control the fate of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you, man. And it's interesting. And my listeners DM me this stuff all the time. And it's a broken record, but I guess we keep needing to repeat it. Entrepreneurs are the most calculated people I know. Like there are very few successful entrepreneurs, okay? Maybe that's a big distinction, where they just were like, hey, I'm going to start this business and let's just like wing it. And like, I don't even know if I'm going to make it. Yes, I know what you just said in the fact that, there was this balancing act of, I don't know if I'm going to make this or not. But I would imagine you had a pretty nice base setup so the runway for you and your wife could actually like take off versus like, yeah, hey, we just filed for bankruptcy. We have 2 kids. We're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I'm going to start a business. You're going to stay home. Like I've never met an entrepreneur that has thought that way. So I blame Gary Vee. And I say this with the utmost respect, but his messaging is do what your dreams are, follow your dream. You got to go all in. No. Moonlight. Do it on the side. Do it when you're done with work. Work your 9 to 5 or whatever you're doing and start it on the side, start small and build it up and scale. But, and Doug Miller did that. He owns Core Nutritionals, good friend of mine. Shout out to Doug.
Shout out to Drug Miller.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I used Core Nutritionals for a while. That guy has
no one's going to hold that against you, man. No one's going to hold that against you.
No, I know.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. Doug's amazing. Bryce Beal, who's our head coach at Legacy of Carbon, he runs it. He actually trains his kids. So we are very close. We traveled Australia together, the UK together.
Cool.
Like Doug's family to me. But, Doug had a corporate job and then he when he was, it was the right time. He stepped out and did Core full time and built his empire. He's crushing it. Literally, he's using his own tagline. He's doing his thing. So I'm one of those like, I'm a cautionary guy. Like everything's mitigated, everything's reserved. Like even when starting new companies, we'll have partners be like, oh, let's throw in. I'm like, no, let's throw in half of that. That way we're not out of control. Yeah. That way we know we have a budget. We're going to stick to it. And if God forbid we undershot it, we can always add more. But I always like to bootstrap it. And I think that builds a better base of the company because you have to build your foundation. You have to make sure all your processes are right. All your SOPs are correct.
Yeah. I'm curious. Do you meet, because for all practical purposes, you're a first generation success. Okay. I'm not saying your family
first generation American.
Yeah. But like business wise, right? And I've seen this where you talk to a first generation business owner versus second or third, whatever. It's almost like you're having a separate conversation. I talk to people that have started their own businesses versus those that have taken it over. And I can't necessarily connect with those that have taken it over. I am not against any of that. Okay. Cause eventually it has to happen. But do you run into that?
The lucky sperm club exists, man.
Yes, it does.
You know, it just depends. I think there's something to be said for grinding your way up. And luckily it seems like with sports, my kids have adopted those traits.
Good.
You know, my daughter was a high level soccer player, you know, state champ, one-time runner up. My son is a state placer in high school wrestler. My 12-year-old's won 2 state titles and he's a great football player. You know, my daughter right now, she's going to Kelly School of Business, phenomenal, you know, top 3 business school in the country. And she's crushing it. Like she'll be done in 3 years, taking 21 units, 3.95 GPA, got a hell of an internship her first year at the construction company that built the Batman Tower, the AT&T building in Nashville.
Cool.
And she's got that grind. Like she just has it in her. She doesn't know anything but hard work. She just doesn't. And my kids, wrestlers, if I'm going to hire an athlete, I'm hiring a wrestler because those bastards are crazy. They'll do anything to be good at something.
Yeah.
You know, wrestling's the hardest high school sport.
Sure.
Hardest sport, I would argue, you know? So, you know, I think that with sports, you're able to kind of develop those traits, but nothing builds character like being poor. You know, I think that builds character when you're like, if I don't make this work, I'm literally poor. Like you got to make it work or my family's not going to eat. And then you throw a family in the picture and your fight or flight, that response just kicks in. So I think that you have that, you have that viewpoint of, okay. And it never leaves you. You're never truly comfortable.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, and again, one of the things that I admire is you, because I feel like a lot of people in the world of fitness or really any industry, it's the analogy of you're either the producer of music or you're the artist, meaning the artist is well known, but the producer is the one that actually brings in all the money. You have been in it long enough where I can make an argument. You kind of are a player coach. You dabble in both of those. But the majority of people, another genuine group, so I've had the guys on Mind Pump on our show. Those are legit guys. Yeah. Love those guys to death.
Yeah, I like their show.
Yeah, great. Shout out to the guys at Mind Pump, good friends. But I've also recognized very quickly that more often than not, there is a lot of falseness in the world of fitness. And so how many of these fitness influencers would you say are truly legitimately successful?
Less than 1. It's all smoke and mirrors. It is. And I've seen it firsthand. And every time you think someone's got it like that, they don't, or they just spend it faster than they make it. It's kind of like the NFL, right? Like you said, these guys go in and they get their $1 million contracts. They MC Hammer it. They go broke. Mm-hmm. And it's because they just can't manage their finances or because they're just not making that much money and they're presenting this persona. And you saw it with Cali Muscle and his cars and, you know, it's just, you see it all the time. And it's just, it's not sad because look, the one thing I could always say is I've been authentic. Like I'm the same guy you're going to see online. The high energy thing, I don't like snort a line of Coke and go on. No, that's how I am. So, you know, and that's just being authentic. Yes. I think that's, you know, like when I'm talking to, there's a company I was talking to the other day and it's a young lady and she's like, what's your advice? I'm like, just be you, be authentic. And her story is fascinating. And I'm like, yeah, you should probably lean into just being you. Don't try and be something you're not. Cause I think people, now you're going to scam a lot of people in the process, maybe make a lot of money. But you can't buy character. You can't buy legacy. You have to earn that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I was actually on a podcast a couple of days ago and someone asked me kind of a similar question, like what's the advice that you would give to rising entrepreneurs, whatever? And I said, become your own adjective. So like, I'm sure I can, you know what I'm going to say? I can guarantee that people will say, oh, well, you know, Mark did that thing. Oh, because he's Mark. You earned that adjective. Like you earned that ability to be your own descriptor. And I think that's valuable because then you're not hiding behind anything. You mentioned earlier, you don't ever see yourself like retiring, but what would you say you can see yourself transitioning or evolving into from where you're at in business today?
I'm getting the hell off of social media is what I'm doing. I never wanted to be on it. Yeah. Like I tried to hire people for Scivation when we started and nobody really did anything. And then I was like, well, and then I started my blog when I did my first show and it kind of resonated a little bit on the bodybuilding.com forums. And, then I kept competing. I never wanted to compete. Like I wasn't like, why would I want people to judge me? Like that's weird. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if you ever look into bodybuilding, it's really freaking weird. But I did it because you're like, why are you getting into bodybuilding? Like, did you watch Pumping Iron? I'm like, no, I really needed to sell stuff. And the only way I could do it is actually going out and living that lifestyle. But I never had any intention of competing ever. It wasn't a thing.
Interesting.
So yeah. And even when I started with, Chad at Tiger Fitness, I remember he was like, hey man, you should do a YouTube video. I'm like, why? He's like, well, because you could be on camera and you could do product reviews. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And then he's like, well, YouTube's the Google for video because it's all by Google. I'm like, fine. So I did an Oxy Elite Pro video. It's still on the channel. And we sold out. And I'm like, okay. So then I did like a Gaspari Myofusion review and I kept doing reviews and people were like, hey, don't you like lift and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, like you should probably film your training. I'm like, why? Well, because people want to watch you train. I'm like, why? And so I just did that. My wife would just film my sets on a potato phone because we didn't have camera phones at the time.
Yeah.
And it was literally, I think it was like a $40 camera.
Yeah.
And dude, it just kind of, that's how it started. I had no intention. I wasn't like the Liver King where I'm going to jack myself full of drugs and pretend I'm natty and then sell desiccated liver tablets. No, I was like, hey, I'm gonna just do this because it's what it takes. I had no intention of even people like, you're a nobody on there. And I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't bother me because right now I don't need it. Like everything I do is operations. I don't have time for social media. I check Twitter in the morning and at night. And sometimes like last night I was on a flight, so I was shit posting. Ish posting.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We're late in the episode. You can let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was, because I was on a plane and I couldn't sleep and it's 1 a.m. and there I was. So it's like, I didn't want to work. I already got 7 hours of work done during the flight delay. So I'm like, I don't want to work anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, but you're not going to see me just cruising through TikTok, right? I'm always doing something productive. But I don't want to be a social media guy. I just still am. But when people say you're a has-been, I'm like, maybe in that, but my day is wall to wall. And this trying to schedule with me and I apologize.
You're good.
But what happens is this stupid thing, people just like, it'll be like an important meeting. Just put it in your calendar and it's something I can't miss because it's like an important call. So I'm like, well, yeah, can we move it back one more time? It's like one of those where my day is spent working. I have a normal job. And that's what I try to get across to people. I'm not a normal influencer. I'm not even an influencer. I'm just a guy with a family and a job like everybody else. Just want to get through life. I want to provide for my family. I want to get my kids through college with no loans. And that's my goal. That's it. And if the fact that people happen to recognize me because I had a YouTube channel that got pretty big in 2015, it's not what I want to be known for. But I'd rather nobody knows me and I just kind of do my job and raise my kids and that's fine. I don't care either way. I don't get mad when people don't recognize me.
That's one thing I've discovered actually, and by no means do I have the following that you have, but I think to a certain extent, young, naive, wanting that some form of attention, or wanting to be liked, wanting to be admired, because it feels good. But then you pull back that curtain like the Wizard of Oz. And then once you have it, you're like, oh, no. I didn't want this in the first place.
I never wanted it though. I mean, I've been with my wife since high school. Like she gives me all the validation I need. And she also insults me more than anybody online ever will.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are like, insulting me. I like when people say like, you have small arms. I'm like, bro, I have a mirror. Like I'm self-evident. Yeah, I understand my torso. Like, it's like, well, thank you for like, what I want to know, like how does that make someone, what would bring someone like, hey, here's an update on my physique. Cause I'm a fitness guy. They're like, yeah, your arms are too small. I'm like, why would you say that? Like, that's not very nice.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
yeah.
What motivates people? I'm like, why would, so I'll usually jokingly, like when I seem like, cause you can't connotate voice, but like, and I'm also a loud guy. So I always sound angry. Cause I have just my brother's the same way. Very, very vocal, very, very loud voice where when we talk in a restaurant, everybody hears us. That's how it is. We're very booming voices. And people think I'm mad. No, I'm trolling you. This is my break.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to get offended. And sometimes you block people because they just annoy you.
Right.
When they keep going off or they keep saying snake oil salesman, I'm like blocked. You're not buying my stuff anyway. And you're of no benefit to my life. So you're blocked. Oh, I thought this was a democracy. Not my page has my name on it. This is Country of Mark. And if I want to deport you and send you to El Salvadorian prison, I will.
Yeah. Well, and let me tell you, man, first off, you never have to apologize for rescheduling and all that. And I get it because you respect time. I respect people's time. We're always busy.
I felt today, I'm like, dude, I had something fall off at 1. I'm like, how's 1?
Yeah.
I'm like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I'm still awake, so we're good.
I know you are. Well, and I wanted to bring this up though, and this is selfishly for me being a younger dad, because you're a little farther ahead in the parenting world than I am. What have you done to instill entrepreneurial skills, business skills, sales skills into your kids?
Live with them. Let them see what you're doing. Don't leave.
That's good.
Stay with your wife. Yeah. Simple things. I think the only rule in my house is you have to play a combat sport. You have to play a team sport. That'll teach you more than school ever will. Never focused on GPA. Never was like, if you don't get straight A's, you're not going to play. If my kids get in trouble, I'm never taking sports away because that'll teach them more than any school ever will. Getting your butt kicked in front of it, getting pinned on a wrestling mat in front of girls at your high school gym is much more embarrassing than anything you will ever do. It builds humility. Being on a football field, working with a team, all of my leadership skills I learned from being the captain of my football team in high school. And I learned how to lead a group of men into battle. Not real battle, but football field battle.
Yeah. Oh, it can be close. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially in the inner cities, like that gets really, really chippy.
Yeah.
So I think that, and with my kids, I think just positive affirmation. Don't be afraid to tell your kids you're proud of them, that you love them. You don't have to be a hard ass. I'm a hard ass, my kids are, look, some of the things I say to my kids, people might think I'm abusive. Because we joke around. I'll be like, dude, you're weak. What was that? And I'll do it at our facility and everybody thinks it's hilarious because, it's my kids. I'll never do that to someone else's kid. But
yeah, right.
My kids understand, like when they do something cool and there's times you have to back down. Like I'll tell you a story. My son was at regionals and this was last year he lost at regionals. Lost a really tough match, and only top 4 get to go. Loses it. Goes out in the hallway. He breaks down, and Coach Rex, his name is Rex Schatz. Hopefully that's not his real name, but that's his name. And he's sitting there, and he's consoling my son. We just sat there, and I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit if you win today. Did you give it your all on that mat? Yeah. I'm like, who fucking cares? You got 2 more matches left. You can either give up now or go, and you have to be there console. The year before, had to console him because he lost. I'm like, hey, life's not about winning. Yeah, winning does feel really good. And actually, not take it back. Life is about winning, but this doesn't matter. This is not the win that's going to define you. So he took that entire offseason and poured his heart into it. So he got 4th at regionals, squeaked into sectionals. Top 4 goes. At sectionals, he has 1 match, the blood round, to win. 1 match. He's going up against a 2-time state placer. He's down by 1 point with 20 seconds left. And instead of escaping, which he could have, he does a somersault, does something called a Granby, and gets 2 points and wins the match with 1 second left. And then at state, he shows out, gets 4th place in state. Tell me there's anything else in the world that will develop that kind of resolve, that will develop that kind of character. Yeah. So right there, I'm like, this kid's gonna do great things, you know? Whereas my 12-year-old just went to state and wrestled for 30 seconds and killed everybody. But when he gets to high school, it ain't going to be like that.
Yeah. No,
these are the best in the state.
Yeah.
The best. And there's a lot of people in the state, like, right? So I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. That's an accomplishment. And then he wants to wrestle in college. I'm like, oh, you think this is hard? Yeah, wait till college.
Oh, yeah.
So the funnel is real.
Yeah, the funnel is real. Well, and it's interesting you bring that up because look, I have very few regrets in my life. And when you're a kid, you're a child. Like, you can't control your life like you and I can now. But like growing up for me, I played baseball, I played basketball, I played football, I played all those things. But like my sport was golf. That was my sport. And I was dang good at it. And then I just committed everything to that sport. Then I switched to powerlifting and bodybuilding. The theme of all of those, it's a one-man show. Like having a caddy, it's not a team. Okay. Having a spotter. Natural transition is golf to bodybuilding. I'd say everybody does that. Yeah. Yeah. Right. But I'll tell you the reason why I regret. So about a year ago, I was at coffee with the fullback of the Dolphins who's come on our show. And that, because when people are like, man, the camaraderie of the team and building all that, I never really had it a lot. I never had it to that level. It doesn't matter when you're 6 years old and you're on Pee Wee football, like none of that. But when you're starting to develop as a man and you build a lot of that, I missed that. And so for me, I'm so thankful I have what I have because I've kind of built my business very similar to like Buffett. Like it's very decentralized so I can focus. It's just me because the benefit with golf is it's you. There's no like, oh, the guard missed the tackle. Did you hit the shot or did you not? And you can't hide behind it. It's like,
yeah, that's why I mandate both.
Yeah.
Because you need to get your ass kicked. And my kids, before they wrestled, all of them boxed. So my daughter has a regional championship. Both of my sons are either placers or state champions, you know. And that every one of my kids boxed, other than my daughter. You know, my 17-year-old, he was a hell of a boxer. Fell in love with wrestling. But yeah, you had to do some kind of a fight sport because I believe all strong young men and women should, one, be able to throw a punch or take somebody down and defend themselves. And number two, nothing builds character like getting punched in your face.
No. Although I will say a really close second is when someone toes one off of the tip of their driver and the ball just digs into the back of your kneecap. That is a close second. And I've had that many times. Okay.
Yeah, but getting knocked out. Like my daughter in sparring once just got knocked out. And my wife lost her mind. And I'll tell you what, so what I was impressed with when she woke up, she was like, all right, can we still go? The coach like, no, you can't go, dummy. You just got knocked. You know,
we're done.
She was ready to go. She was not going to give up. And I'm like, that was a hell of a right cross. So, yeah, it's just about building humility, and you have to do that when your kids have stuff, right? Because when you're broke, you don't really need anybody to humiliate you. Like, you're already broke. But, you know, my kids, they need that adversity. Like, humans need adversity, and I can't provide it to them. We gave them a good life. So the only way I can introduce that adversity is through sports. And people think I'm wild and crazy, but so far it's worked pretty well, and it shouldn't have, because I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. I was this close to saying like, man, you should be really proud. And then you called yourself an idiot. I was like, kind of defeated that one. Well,
I have no idea nobody knows how to parent, dude.
Yeah. No.
Like nobody knows.
Yeah.
And my kids are so different.
Yeah.
Like there's no blueprint. They're all different. They all respond to different things. You know, it's it's one of those where you're like, well, the only consistent thing I've had really is sports, because they've all, obviously your first child is going to be treated different than your second child and your third child, because that dynamics change. Like, one is there's more people, less attention. So yeah, there's going to be different dynamics. The only consistency in our family is we have rules and we stand by them, and we'll enforce them. Like, there's no drugs or alcohol, period. My daughter gets caught drinking even one sip, she's out of college. I'm not paying for it. I think that's a great contract. $60,000 degree a year, $60,000 a year just to not drink. That's a hell of a deal.
Yeah.
I'll do it today.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, that's a hell of a contract. Yeah. Just, you're not, and she's not into that anyway, which is cool. Well, how do you know? I'm like, because she knows I'll pull her out of school. I mean, trust me, she's not taking that risk. It's not worth it.
No. Amen.
And I raised them to be good people and understand that, drinking is not conducive to your goals.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, last question. And this is a big one.
Uh-oh.
And I was hesitant on even asking this, but I was like,
now I'm scared.
I think Mark can handle this one.
Okay.
So safe to say you're pretty type A like me. Driver. Yeah. Okay. Like, we go 1,000,000 miles a minute. And lately I've been doing a lot of reflecting, and I don't need to get into me personally, but last year I had some health scares and got me to open up to some things. And now I'm toggling with all this in my mind. So I wanted to ask you, are you ever afraid that you'll get to the end of your life and you'll be disappointed that you didn't do enough?
I could die now. I could die right now if that's the litmus test. I've surpassed all of my goals I set for myself, every single one. And I'm not afraid of death. I'm not. I want to live, but I don't live life in fear of death, because, my family will be taken care of. I've done a lot, and I'm not saying that to brag. That's just the real truth. Like, I could die tomorrow and be like, that was a pretty good life. Like, right? Brought 3 beautiful children to the world, donated hundreds of thousands to charity. I always led with my morals and my ethics in business. Always, no matter what people might think, I always use that litmus test. I was always able to look myself in the mirror in the morning and say, yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. I did right by everything I could do. So yeah, I could literally die tomorrow and be okay with it. And be okay with my legacy, because I didn't expect to be where I'm at. I didn't expect any of this. I didn't expect to have a beautiful house. I didn't expect any of this. This is a dream. Like, this is beyond anything. If you would have told me I would be where I'm at in life at 70, I would have been like, you're crazy. No, I'm just a dumb kid, from a household that had health issues, and, a clinically insane mom, and just, and I didn't get lucky. No, I didn't get lucky. I literally, I worked myself sick to get to where I'm at. So no, I'm not one of those, it's white privilege, it's luck. No. I had some fortunate things along the way. My wife and I getting together at a young age was very nice. I had a couple coaches, Coach Miles and Coach McCrilla in high school, who took me under their wings and, kind of demonstrated, man stuff, right? Like, lift, work hard, simple things, took me under their wing. But no, I mean, I earned everything here. This is not because of some crazy gift or some societal privilege or any of that. I just outworked everybody. There's not one person I know who has given more to get to where I'm at than me. And I say that with all honesty, looking you straight in, the proverbial eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody. I've earned every friggin' thing I have. And yeah, I don't want to die. Like, I really like being alive and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot more I could do. Nah, I'm going to go to the deathbed just perfectly content with my life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And what I love about that is, even though, and that's something I struggle with a lot. Like if I was gone today, even though I know my family's set up, I've written 2 books. I'm interviewing you.
You're crushing it.
Thank you. I still feel like I would have left a lot of meat on the bone.
Your kids are young. Look, you don't want to miss those childhood years, but look, my youngest is 12.
Yeah.
He'll be sad for a little bit, but life will go on. It is what it is. So when your kids are young, it's a different perspective because they're still developing. By the age of 10, 11, that's if you don't have them right by 10 or 11, it's going to be a rough teenage years. That's when their brain really forms. That's when it's really important. And honestly, it's never good to lose a parent, but when your kids are older, you're like, okay, they have a college fund. We got a good 529. Okay, we're setting that way. Yeah. So I think you should revisit that question, put a thing in your calendar for 12 years from now and ask yourself that same question. And that also gives you 12 more years of crushing it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Well, Marc, thank you for coming on the show, man. This was awesome.
Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate it. And if you ever want to chat again, I'm hoping it works itself out in the next couple months.
Yeah. No, it'll be good. And you know what? Eventually, because I'm starting to do speaking engagements next year, and Brentwood is a beautiful area. So
I got a guest quarters. You're always welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
As always, thank you for joining me today. If you have questions about today's episode or any personal finance questions, please reach out to me at Cap and Capitalize on Instagram, Chris at capitalizeyourfinances.com, or via our website, capitalizepodcast.com. If you want more Capitalize Your Finances content, head on over to capitalizepodcast.com and check out our blog, free resources, book, and online course. As always, I'm your host, Chris Frey-Panayiotou, Certified Financial Planning Professional, the Cap and Capitalize. And until next time, keep capitalizing.
The information provided should not be considered specific tax, legal, or investment advice and is not specific to any individual's personal circumstances. These materials are provided for general information and educational purposes based upon publicly available information from sources believed to be reliable. The information in these materials may change at any time and without notice. Stock investing includes risks, including fluctuating prices and loss of principal. Earnings from a 529 college savings plan can grow tax-deferred and may be withdrawn free of federal taxes when used for qualified education expenses. Non-qualified withdrawals are subject to a 10% penalty tax. Christopher Panayiotou is a registered representative with and securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Capitalize Your Finances LLC is a separate entity from LPL Financial. Capitalize Your Finances is not registered as a broker-dealer or investment advisor. CRPS conferred by College for Financial Planning. Marc Lobliner and any other individual or company mentioned in this podcast are not affiliated with Capitalize Your Finances or LPL Financial.